In our last lesson, we covered the keyboard shortcuts. Now I want to go back into Photoshop and slightly go over here to our menu and also talk about a few more options in the menu in the next following lessons. So I want to start right away out with the first one, which is again puppet warp and transform. So under edit, we already covered file a little bit. You guys understand what new is, open, and also smart objects, close and save, etc. And a few options here with automate. I want to go now to edit and start with puppet warp and transform because I think these two are very essential to also know as a beginner. Small extra tools and a few more extra options to know. Also, if you get confused and don't know where my stuff is or the stuff that I'm actually pointing out, just retype the name with like puppet warp and you will always see that Photoshop shows you that right away. The same goes for paste, the same goes for copy paste, for anything that you are looking for. So again, Photoshop will always show you right away where everything. Okay, so say for instance something like smart filters, it will also show you where smart. Great, so let's go to image, actually edit, and we want to start out with transform. So right away under transform, you will see we have scale, we got rotate, skew, distort, perspective, warp. Okay, these are the first normal basic options. Then rotate the complete canvas or whatever you have selected on your layer at 180 degrees, rotate 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise. And then obviously flip horizontally or vertically. Let's actually try horizontally quickly, and right away you get to see the effect. Always remember, it will only adjust it on the current layer. Let's press Command Z, get a step back. Again in the history panel, I'll go back to edit, transform, and flip vertical. So again, you guys get the idea of what this does. Now, what I want to do is go back to the elliptical marking tool, make a huge selection just around the head. Just for an example here, let's hit right click, transform the selection. You've seen this before. Okay, so I just want to get the head now with the selection. Okay, accept it. And now I'm going to copy paste this. So I'm going to press Command C and Command V. Again, Windows people remember to press Control when I say Command. So Command C, Command V, copy paste. And right away we are just left here with this. So say for instance now on this layer, the second one here, you only want to transform and warp this maybe a little bit. So let's actually do that. Layer 1 is selected. I'm going to go back to edit, transform, and right away let's start out with scale. So scale is pretty much like the Command T button, the transform button. You can now hold shift and easily transform this bigger or smaller. Great. Back to edit, transform, rotate. Again, you can also rotate this pretty much the same like Command T. Back to edit, form, and let's go to skew. Right, let's do that again. Edit, and we're gonna go to skew. So again, you can now also easily make this a bit of a weird shape here. Again, you guys get this, see the idea what's happening when we work with this. So this is the option for skew. Okay, pretty cool tools for adding some really great effects to your images. Let's go back to edit, transform once again. And once again, we'll go now to distort. So distort, also always select an anchor point. And you can easily now drag out certain points. Also, if you hold shift on the keyboard, it always goes in a different direction and gives you a complete different and weird effect. Okay, and you can tweak it a bit more. Let's maybe leave it at the bottom so we kind of get a really weird effect here. Taking these points and a little bit. So obviously, if your background is nice and you have a good cutout, then this will obviously work and look a bit different and a bit nicer. Also, this will be used quite a lot for architectural photography. I'm going to press Command Z, go a step back, go back to edit, and show you one more, which is the perspective. Again, you can also take the anchor points over here in order to get a different perspective with this. If you hold Command, it only will tweak that one side again. Okay, so again, a few options to work with. Let's head over to warp again, my favorite also. So with warp again, you have a little bit of a grid, and you can now individually in the grid select an area and warp this. Also, if you hold Alt, it will only take that anchor point and that area, this one area, and move this around. Same over here and over here. So you can really warp something into the perspective that you want, or maybe create a really funky new portrait. But often it's just used to correct things, straighten things, or again, create some right perspective. Let's go back to paste. So we have our original form. Go back to edit, transform, and that was warp. So right away, again, rotate 180, 90, and 90 clockwise. I don't want to show that. It's pretty self-explanatory. But now I want to go back and just delete this layer 1 and right away zoom in a bit with Z. I'll take L, lasso tool, just take the normal lasso tool, and right away I'll make a nice big selection here around the mouth. And say for instance now the lips aren't that great, or there's something that stands out a little bit, or you want to fix this a little bit. Then the puppet warp tool comes in really handy. Also have a look in the bonus section is another lesson which goes deeper into the puppet warp tool. It's also a free tutorial and available on our website if you want to learn more about this. I'm going to now press Command Z and Command V, duplicate paste this again so we only have the lips. And now on this certain layer, let's actually be zoomed in. We will go all the way to Edit and we'll find here Puppet Warp. So select Puppet Warp and right away you see we have a raster over our lips. Also again at the top here in our application bar, again a few options to work with. I normally stick just with the normal. And also if you want to hear show mesh or no show mesh, I always keep show mesh on. Now I want to show one thing right away. If you now click into this mesh, you set an anchor point. And now if you hold somewhere and drag with the second anchor point, the second anchor point will always rotate around the first one. So it's kind of like a static thing in the middle, like an X. It will always rotate around the first anchor point. So what you'll need to do is first of all set a few anchor points. I'm just going to escape this again, go back to Edit, and Puppet Warp again. So what I mean with that is first set the grid outlines. So set an anchor point over here, and continue around your selection if you do not wish to move the whole selection. So I'm going to put a few anchor points. And remember, the more anchor points you put, the more Photoshop needs to render. So if your computer is not quick, maybe just place them strategically. And also remember to be quite careful with this. It can be easily overdone. So say for instance now, if we're going to turn off show mesh here, I want to just put in this lip a little bit closer and tweak everything and make them look really nice and pretty. And I'll put another anchor point over here. This one we can actually just move over a little bit. So I'm going to show that in a moment. Again, show mesh. And right away I'm holding Command now down. And this means I'm now pushing this area up. And it's only pushing this area and not affecting all of these areas. Okay? Same goes over here. I'll push that up a little bit. This up a little bit. And now sometimes it comes in handy to escape the show mesh in order to actually see what's happening on your image. Okay, great. I'll take this one a little bit over, make the mouth a bit shorter. So I'm just always clicking and dragging. Okay, and you don't need to always hold Command. Sometimes it comes in handy. Okay, I'll put another anchor point over here, push this up a little bit, push this guy up a little bit. Quite difficult there. Again, remove one, select, and hit delete. Then you can also delete a few. Delete and delete. And again, I will put one anchor point and just move this up slightly. One over here, and over here, slightly up. Again, I want to go back to the mesh. Show mesh. Great. Also delete this one here at the top. Just select it. Once it's selected, you'll see the little dot in the middle. Just hit delete over there. So that's basically how the Puppet Warp works. Just work with these anchor points, place them on the strategic ways, and then re-warp it and reshape it until you are happy. Once you're done, you can just hit the top tick button here, and you are now complete, and you've changed this a bit. So here's the before and after, before and after. And Photoshop does a good job of rendering everything in on this. Here it's a little bit of a mess up, but again, remember you can erase this or use a brush in order to erase or brush this out. So yeah, this is basically just the normal transform and the Puppet Warp tool. Pretty good tools to also know from the top